everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar session. My name is Fernando, and I come with the Region 9 Head Start Association, and I will be your webinar host today. So feel free to contact me via the chat option of Zoom with any logistical questions you may have regarding audio, video, or any connection issues. Please note that due to the current situation related to COVID-19, our webinar platform, Zoom, is experiencing a lot of traffic. So if during this session you experience any lag and or connection issues, we apologize in advance. As a registered attendee, you will have the ability to log out and back in with your credentials as long as the room capacity of 500 has not been reached. If you have any questions or experience any of these issues, feel free to visit our website to contact us. This webinar session will be recorded and will be made available for on-demand consumption within 24 hours. You may find the recording up on our YouTube channel, which can be found by visiting our website at www.region9hsa.org. Then you will scroll all the way to the bottom of our homepage, and there you will find a link to our YouTube account. Resources tied to this session, such as a certificate of participation, can be found on our website as well. To access the page tied to this session, please navigate to the Learn tab on our homepage and click on the COVID-19 page. There you will find a link to this session plus any other previous webinars we have hosted in the last few weeks. We encourage your participation today, so feel free to send us your questions and or comments via the Q&A option of Zoom, and we will try our best to address them live when the time permits. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our topic for today, a chance of awesome, how changing the way you see changes everything. And our speakers today will be Kim and Jason Kotecki from Escape Adulthood. Thank you.
All right.
Hello everybody.
Everyone. Good morning. Well,
happy Thursday.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah.
It's noon for us in Wisconsin.
Thanks for having us. We're so grateful to be here. I want to take a minute to just explain who the heck we are.
Yeah, I would like to know that as well.
A big shout out to Brenda and Sierra Cascades all in the chat. We are Kim and Jason from Escape Adulthood.
Yep, I am a speaker, artist, and author. What I really do for a living, what both of us do, is we're professional reminderers. So this is Kim. She's my partner in crime, and we have dedicated ourselves to fighting adultitis, which is a terrible disease. I'm not sure where it ranks compared to coronavirus, but coronavirus
is winning right now.
will be gone eventually.
Right.
Adultitis has been around for a long time and will continue. And the problem is that adultitis has been extremely exacerbated by all of this coronavirus stuff. So we're happy to be with you. We're really proud of all of the work that you all do working with kids and families. And man, just what an honor it is to be with you. We have a lot of experience speaking at different Head Start conferences. You are a former kindergarten teacher.
Yes, and I've had the honor of being in Head Start classrooms in my training, and we are just huge fans. Can we even wrap our brain around what that means? Cheers to everything you do. When we talk about heroes in the world, you guys are on the front lines. So we're honored to be able to bring some new ideas and inspiration for you guys today as you bunker down at home and do what we're all asked to do, which is to somehow find peace amidst all this uncertainty.
Yes.
So here we go.
Yeah. So basically today we want to remind you of a few things. These are things that you've probably heard before, but maybe you need to hear again. Maybe you need to hear it today. Maybe you need to hear it right at this moment. And we're going to share some stories. As an artist, I'm going to share some of my artwork. We're going to share some tips for having fun in this difficult time. And we're just excited to be with you and hope that you get a lot out of this. As we go through this, we'll do our thing, but we want to make sure we have time for questions at the end too. So Fernando will be keeping track of different questions you have, and hopefully we can help with that. So
just making sure, you want to go scroll down for a minute.
Okay.
That's not an issue.
Hopefully,
okay.
hope everyone can hear us okay.
Okay.
Yes,
Cool.
okay. So let us get to the stuff. Let me start by sharing our screen. And we'll do that. All right. All right. This is our family. We are entrepreneurs, parents, as you can see. We have three kiddos, and we live in Wisconsin, where we eat way too many cheese curds and enjoy long walks by the lakes. This is the nice version of our family. This is a more accurate one, probably taken just this January, I guess. Yes. It was, right? Yep. January, February. We were in Florida before all this craziness happened. And yeah, that's us. So let's set the mood here. We are all feeling a little bit like this, aren't we? Just sort of like, what is happening to us? Right. What is happening to this world? And this is kind of where we are. So just starting out with a couple little announcements. I don't know if you saw this, but the CDC has now mandated hoop skirts for all in order to maintain an appropriate 6-foot social distance.
It's very nice for Easter.
Problem with this, I love this idea, but it's I tried to order one on Amazon. It's on back order. So now I have to stay inside until my dress comes in. That's, you know, how it is. The other thing, I don't know if anyone else has noticed this challenge, but I should have gotten a haircut before this all happened. We're gonna have issues with this. We saw this. This is how we're all gonna look after 18 months of cutting our own hair. Oh, I hope it doesn't come to this, but it could.
It's inevitable.
This could be a bad thing. So basically what we want to share with you guys today is this idea of changing the way we see things. That is what this session is about, that we have a choice over how we want to look at this challenge. And there are a lot of different ways to look at it. We can look at it with fear, with anxiety, with optimism, with hope. And I'm sure we've done a little bit of all of that in the last few weeks. But let me start with this. Where we live in Wisconsin during the summertime, if you're a normal adult and you look out your window and you see this, you're probably gonna freak out. You're gonna get all disgruntled, like, we have weeds all over our yard. Got to call the weed guy. This is a problem. But as you know, working with kids, when kids see this scene, they see something a little bit different. They see wishes. They see flowers for mom. They see bouquets. They see hours and hours of fun. So here's the thing. This is the exact same scene, but it's two completely different ways of looking at it. And how we choose to look at it is entirely up to us. Mm-hmm. So we have this challenge in front of us, right? This coronavirus, this crisis, and there are opportunities. So let me talk about this for a second. You find this interesting.
Yes.
Now.
Every year for Christmas, Jason gives me portraits of the kids that year that we hang on our walls, because he has an art background. He is a very good portrait artist. And I've been able to see him create these in the past, and he will turn them upside down and actually do the art upside down from the photo reference that he's using. And the first time I saw this, I'm like, what is happening? Why is that upside down? What are you doing?
Yeah, and so it's not. I'm not a madman. Well, not for this reason, at least. But the reason I do this is because when I'm drawing a portrait, sometimes my brain gets lazy, and sometimes I start drawing a nose the way I think a nose is supposed to look, or I draw eyes the way I think eyes are supposed to look, but not necessarily how the eyes look of this person I'm drawing. And so when I turn the picture upside down and I turn my drawing upside down and draw what I see, it's much more likely that it turns out to be an accurate picture, because now I'm drawing not noses or ears or eyes, I'm drawing shapes and lines and values, and I draw that. And in the end, the portrait ends up looking like how the kids look.
Accurate, right?
And I think the metaphor here is that we have had everything turned upside down, right? And it's an opportunity here for us to look at the way we've always done things and the way we're going to do things now, in the next week, in the next day, in the next hours, and how we're going to do things once we get past this. Because here's the biggest reminder of all: we will get past this. All right. Sometimes it feels like we're in a movie. You wake up, you're like, was this all a dream? I don't know if this
I keep trying to wake up.
I don't know if this is like a horror movie, a thriller. Sometimes it feels like a comedy, but I can tell you this, the spoiler alert is that we win in the end. So I think that's something we need to be reminded of a lot. So we have this opportunity to turn things upside down. And I love this quote by Isaac Asimov. He said, "Your assumptions are your windows on the world. Scrub them off every once in a while, or the light won't come in." And so the big challenge we have right now in this moment, which is unprecedented, right? We've never done this before, is to ask an important question, which is, now that this has happened, what does this make possible? And this is the most powerful question we can ask ourselves right now, because none of us wants this to be happening. We've gone through different stages of anger and denial and sadness and grief, but it is happening, and wishing that it isn't, or pretending that it isn't, or worrying about, what we don't know yet isn't helping anyone. But what is productive is looking for opportunities, the opportunities we have in the situation. So now that this has happened, what does this make possible? Fun fact, I learned about this. We talked about this. Isaac Newton. So in 1665, the University of Cambridge temporarily closed due to the bubonic plague. Isaac Newton had to work from home, and he used this time to develop calculus and the theory of gravity. Thanks a lot. Thanks for setting the bar, Isaac. Really appreciate that.
I'm just hoping to clean my closet out.
I know, right? But what I think, although I don't know if any one of us is Isaac Newton here, but we can at least follow his lead, right? We can say, what is the opportunity in this? And so I'm not asking us to be in denial or pretend that these bad things aren't happening. They are. What I'm asking, what we're hoping to share with you, is to realize that the opportunities, the positive things that are coming out of this and can come of this, are just as real as the pain and the grief and the real things that we're also dealing with. I think our mentality is that the people who see silver linings are the ones who are looking for them. And so that's the chance, and that's the chance that we have right now. So what I'm encouraging us to think about is, what are we doing now? What are we doing the next few weeks, next month, so that 5 years from now, when we look back on this time, we'll say, oh my gosh, I can't believe, if it wasn't for that coronavirus thing, this never would have happened. This amazing thing in my life right now never would have happened if it wasn't for that whole thing we went through. And that'll be the thing. It'll be like the coronavirus thing. It'll be like, oh yeah, remember that? It doesn't feel like that now, but that is what we are going to refer to this as 5-10 years from now. The key is, what are you going to do about it right now?
Yeah. I think that question is what gets me excited about each day, the last week or two, to be honest, because there is the highs and lows of starting a new day in this journey. But that question, since we've been, kind of talking about this on this daily show that we've been doing, we keep bringing that up, and it keeps forcing me to look at things differently and to say, man, there is an opportunity in today. What is it? What is today's opportunity?
Yeah. And this question about, now that this has happened, what does this make possible? This comes from a friend of ours. His name is Scott Ginsberg. And he would always use this question whenever he would make something. He would write something or start a project. And then he would say, all right, now that I have this, what does this make possible? How else can I use it? Right. And, when you're working with kids, you're in a classroom, you're doing things, you don't always have the budget you would like, right? So you have to sort of recycle things. You have to say, okay, we have this, what else can we use this for, right? And so this question of, now that this has happened, what does this make possible? We've adapted that to our life, especially when bad things happen. So one good example of this that happened a few years ago was when our basement sprung a leak, right?
Yes. I don't know if you guys have ever had water in your home, but it is not great. You know, you start having this fear of like, oh no, like the mold and the foundation of the house. Ours was, you know, kind of a foundational issue, and we just let it attack us for a while.
Yeah, because it wasn't like our basement was flooded.
Right.
When it would rain, the carpet would be wet.
Right.
And so we knew there was an issue, and we'd pull out the dehumidifier and it would be fine. But every time it rained, we'd be like, are we going to have that mold? Are our kids going to die of mold cancers? Like all this terrible thoughts. And after way too long, we finally called in my dad, because we're like, okay, this is not getting better. My dad is a really good handyman. He's has a background as a home builder and a contractor. And so he came in and he tore up, part of the reason we couldn't see what was going on, because there was paneling and drywall. So he helped us tear it out, and we saw the culprit. There was a little hairline crack in the foundation. Mm-hmm. There was a little bit of mold in the paneling, but we disposed of all that. It wasn't nearly as bad as I imagined it to be. But we basically had our basement tore up while he patched up this crack. And spoiler alert, we haven't had any water since then. But in the meantime, our carpet was torn up. We had all the paneling ripped out. And we sat here in the sort of self-pity party, right? And then we finally asked the question. Right.
And it was kind of one of those things that once we asked it, the answers came pretty quickly. It's the hardest part is getting yourself to a point of asking it. Mm-hmm. So it made a lot possible.
Yeah.
To say the least.
We were like, now that we have this, what does this make possible? So instead of recarpeting the basement, we ended up getting this epoxy coating on it, mm-hmm. which allowed me to set up a studio for painting. Now, before I'd never really been able to do really big paintings because I didn't have the room and I didn't want to mess up the carpet. But now I didn't have carpet, so I could get this big easel and work on big canvases, and I didn't have to worry about slopping on the carpet. Meanwhile, we set up a little area for Kim to work, little office on the opposite side of the room. And it was right in the middle is a fireplace, which was in such a weird
it was random
spot before. Right. We never used it at all. But now it was sort of like a centerpiece, and we set up a little seating area. And then in the other part, we set up an area rug where the kids could play, and we could have staging area for other things. And basically, this room went from something we hardly ever used to, I'd say, our favorite room in the whole house. Right. Especially in the wintertime, when we have the fireplace going, I'm painting, Kim's working on her thing, kids are working on their thing. And it's like, it's this amazing space. And it cost us like hardly anything. Right. It was just basically, we just had to get the floor done. And I got to tell you, I kick myself so many times for how, like, we could have had this space so much sooner, but I was so caught up in the negativity and the worry and the anxiety that I'm like,
it clouded our judgment.
Clouded our judgment.
Right.
What an idiot. Mm-hmm. What an idiot. And it was frustrating, but again, good thing came out of it. Right. And so that's the opportunity that we have now is not, you know, we're human beings. We've never done this before. We stink at it. And we're going to have moments where we're afraid and moments where we're angry and moments where we're looking to assign blame and all that stuff. And it's mixed in with moments of hope and moments of being able to be with the people we love the most because we have to, and all of these things. And it's okay to feel angry. It's okay. The whole point of this is not to pretend like bad things don't happen or that we're going through hard times and things like that. But the point is to get ourselves to a point where we can ask the question, okay, that sucked. This sucks. This is all happening and I don't like it and I wish it didn't. But now that it is happening, what does this make possible? What are the new things that can spring forth from this opportunity? And
I have to interrupt and say, you know, let me ask you this, how many just paintings have been created in this new space? What would you guess?
It's got to be at least 50 going on 100, I would guess.
Right. And it's actually opened up all this new stuff in our business and in the work that we do using the art in a whole new way. We have a Wonder Night event that we, you know, have Jason brings art and tell stories. We have a whole section of our store with all this art on it. Like, it's just a whole different thing that wasn't even happening before.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
so the possibility to be able to trace that back, like you said, and then doing that here with the coronavirus, looking ahead 5-10 years, wouldn't it be cool to look back 10 years from now and say, oh my gosh, look at all that happened because of that crisis.
Yeah.
You know?
And yeah, that's part of the part we can control.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the next thing we might kind of want to talk about is a story about control and what we can control, what we can't control. And this was probably 7 years ago now, I would say. I was speaking in Minneapolis. And as soon as I got off the stage, I got a call from Kim.
Mm-hmm.
And Kim is in charge of all of our bookings and the schedule. So she knows when my speeches start and when they're over and when I'm available and when I'm not. And you sent me this call.
Yeah. So his dad had reached out to us, and he was on the road and said, I'm calling a family meeting tomorrow. And I need you guys to be there. Will you be able to be there? And I'm like, oh my gosh, Jason's getting home late tonight. It's his only day home tomorrow. I'm like, well, obviously he'll call you back and we'll figure it out. So you called your dad.
I called him, and my dad has sort of a history of making bigger deals out of things than they really are. Like Kim said, this next day was kind of gold. So I'm like, okay, Dad, is this something that we can maybe put off for a week, or could we just talk about it on the phone? And he's like, no, I want to talk about this in person. I don't really want to talk about it on the phone. And he said, I'd really like for you to be there tomorrow. All right, so I get off the phone, and now my imagination is playing, it's 24 hours to imagine worst case scenarios, right? Like thinking, oh my gosh, this has got to be serious. This is bad. I'm hoping it's not, but I know it's got to be not good. And so the next day we get to my younger brother's house. I have two younger brothers. We're there. Our wives are there. And we're there before my parents. So we're all exchanging notes, trying to guess what this is about. We didn't even know if it was about Dad or if it was about Mom, what was going on. And we get there, and none of us had any clue. And finally, what seemed like a million years later, Mom and Dad pull up. And I see in the passenger side my mom, and it looks like she's wearing a white sweatshirt with the hood pulled up. Now, hoodies are a normal look for younger people usually. Definitely not my mom. So I'm like, okay, something is wrong. Something's wrong with Mom. It's Mom. It's definitely her. This is an issue. And she gets out of the car, and I realize, oh, she's not wearing a hoodie. Silly me, right? She's actually dressed in a beekeeper costume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I said. You don't have to turn up your volume. I said beekeeper costume. Then my dad gets out of the car, and he's dressed head to toe as a bee. Now, I don't know what the appropriate response in this situation is, other than what the hell. But that's kind of what we're thinking. And they come in and they give us hugs, and they seem to be in good spirits. And we're like, what is this about? Like, right. I don't know if you had any thoughts in this moment of what was happening.
Speechless.
Yeah.
All of us are exchanging looks that say it all, right? You're like, what is happening?
Hoping for good news.
Right.
But then my dad pulls out this cardboard box, and he puts it on the coffee table and sets up sort of like a makeshift podium. And he has a sign that he has taped to it. And it says, it's got a smiley face on it, a frowny face on it, and the frowny face is crossed off, and it says at the bottom, stuff happens. And he launches into the speech. And he starts talking about all of these things that we have as a family have encountered. And he's talking on and on and on how we've overcome these things, and we're all at the edge of our seats saying, would you get to the point, man? And then finally he says, I went to the doctor a few weeks ago, and they found cancer. And just like that, it was like all of the air sucked out of the room. And I did, so some of you have experienced that, right? It's just like everything stands still, time stops. But he kept talking. He says, it's prostate cancer. They caught it early. The prognosis is actually really good. And we already have a plan for surgery scheduled. And with that, slowly, hope started to return. And it was that moment that it occurred to me that probably no one in the history of the world has ever told their family that they had cancer dressed as a bee. But my dad did. And my dad was dressed as a bee. My mom's dressed as the beekeeper. And the story goes, this was October, and my parents went to a Halloween costume party the night before, and this is their costume. And they decided to wear these costumes again today to, I quote, help take the sting out of the news. Can't make this up. This is not even, I couldn't even make it up if I tried. And this is what happened. And so it's funny because they had to drive an hour from where they lived at the time up to Wisconsin. They ended up having to stop for gas along the way, and they had to stop at Burger King for lunch, going through the drive-thru. I'm like, why do we not have that picture of my parents at the drive-thru? I can only imagine that there are people still who work there. They're like, remember that time the giant bee came to order food, right? Well, I was really inspired by this, and I ended up creating this painting for my dad, and it was Be Optimistic. And it was really more of an encouragement or a tribute than encouragement, because he was really positive and optimistic about it. But he asked me if I would be able to turn this artwork into pins and like little buttons that you'd wear. So I did. And since then, he's purchased hundreds of these things, and he gives them out to people who he meets who have cancer, or know someone who has cancer, or watched a movie one time when the main character had cancer. And when he goes up, when he goes up to the cancer hospital now, he's now been cancer-free for 5 years. So we're thrilled and feel blessed about that. But he still goes up for checkups and things like that. And he brings the bee pins. And he's sort of like the dude at the marathon who is handing out water as people run by, which kind of makes sense, because I'm sure every single person on this call right now has been touched by cancer in some way. Either you've had it, you know someone who's had it, you've lost someone who's had it, and you need all of the faith and hope and strength that you can get. And that's where we are right now, right? We all need the faith and the hope and love and kindness to get through this. And that's the thing. And that is the big lesson, I think, that I learned from my dad, is that we cannot control what happens to us in life. None of us can control this whole coronavirus thing. I'm sure if we would all like to go back in time and if we could stop it, we would. But what we can do, and this is the lesson that my dad gave us and our family and his grandkids, is we have control over how we react, how we respond. And I don't know about you guys, but to see all of the healthcare workers who have stepped up in such a big way, and the delivery drivers and the truckers and all of the people who are doing things, people who are making homemade masks, and the people who are the musicians who are doing living room concerts, people who are reading children's books to kids.
It's overwhelming. It's in
amazing.
All the great ways, right?
Yeah, and it's inspiring, and that's the part that I encourage you to keep doing, is to keep looking for ways to be helpers, keep looking for ways to be optimistic and shine your light for other people. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, Kim.
No, but I will say that, I think when people hear that story, it definitely challenges myself. It challenges the people we talk to say, the next time I'm faced with a decision of how I'm going to react to something, maybe this will help me see it through a different lens, right? It's like reacting to how you're going to tell your family you have cancer. The fact that he took it to that level, the fact that now we all have that example is a gift, for sure.
Yeah, and so hopefully that encourages you as well. And also, a reminder that sometimes we don't respond in ways that are extra great, and to have kindness with each other, because sometimes our fear and anxiety and anger comes out in ways that's not really very kind and friendly. And, sometimes it just comes out in some ugly ways. And that's, kind of the idea of what can we do about it, is an important thing to always be thinking about, is where is the control? Because a lot of times, like I said, we feel like we're sort of paralyzed right now, that we don't have a whole lot of control. And so another kind of fun story to share about what we have control over and what we don't is something that happened a few years ago to us after our little one was born.
Yes, we had 3 kids in 5 years. So when our daughter Virginia was born, it was Christmas time. She was born December 19th. And at that moment when she was born, we had a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a newborn. And anyone who's had multiple kids in a short distance of, years from each other knows that that can be a little bit of a challenge. Or just running a classroom full of kids as well. So I know you guys can relate to this. But we were going through a little rough patch. It was probably like February. We weren't getting any sleep, and the sleep deprivation was definitely catching up with us. And it was cold here in Wisconsin, of course, and we would have loved to have been in Hawaii or on the southern coast of California to let the kids play on the beach. And as you say, run and run and run.
Goodbye, kids. Goodbye.
But that was not our fate. We were in our home in the wintry Wisconsin weather. So we were kind of stuck. We were feeling really burnout.
Yeah. So here's what we came up with. We're like Kim said, we would have loved to be somewhere warm, not in the cards at that moment. Right. So what we opted for was going out to lunch. And as I'm sure anyone here knows, going out to lunch with kids, that is an awesome, fun picnic, right?
Although we would do anything to go out to lunch today.
I know, right? It's like the things you take for granted. Right. So this was what we opted for, not a picnic, but that's how desperate we were. We just had to get out of the house. So I don't know, you might be able to relate to that right now, right? So we're getting ready. It's my job to collect the children and get them ready for public viewing. And my son Ben had a purple smudge under his nose because he had been in the corner smelling markers. All right, don't judge. All right, they were quiet. They were quiet. So I was gonna do the dad thing, just kind of just kind of wipe it off. And out of nowhere.
Yeah, I don't know why this came out of my mouth. Again, the sleep deprivation was key. But I said, why is it that parents don't just draw mustaches on their kids? Why is this not a thing? She
says this to me as if parents for thousands of years have been asking this question, right? And I'm like, I don't know. Probably because of what other people would think. And as soon as those words came out of my mouth, I knew what I had to do. I called my oldest daughter over. I said, Lucy, go get me that purple marker. And I brought my son Ben in front of me, and I knelt in front of him, and I drew this mustache on my son. And I said, all right, let's go to lunch. And we did.
Oh, man.
Now, I have to tell you, there was a moment there. It sounded really great in the living room. But as we got into the car, I'm like, oh my gosh.
As we were driving
really
there,
doing
is
this?
happening?
Is this, like, nervous DCFS is going to come and be like, oh my gosh, these kids, we got to get the safety. It's not good. We got to get these parents away from these kids. These are not fit parents, right? But it was sort of the opposite. If there could be an opposite, was it like people saying, here's more kids, take all the kids. No, it wasn't like that. But everyone we encountered, the host, the waitresses, the busboys, the other diners, when they saw Ben, they smiled, they lit up. It was awesome. And
it was remarkable. At one point, we just looked at each other and shook our heads, in the middle of this lunch and said, like, I can't believe how much joy this little bitty purple mustache has brought so many people today.
Yeah, we didn't mean to.
No,
it just
happened. For us,
it just happened.
Right.
And so that was something that was really interesting. We learned a couple lessons that day. The first one is that if you are a parent with younger children and you're not taking advantage of drawing on them on a regular basis, you are missing out. I recommend Crayola, but if you want to do Sharpie, you do you, okay? But more importantly, the other lesson we learned is that sometimes it can feel like we're in a bad spot and we have no control. Now, normal situation, this might be at work, like wishing you had a bigger budget, wishing you could change the laws, the regulations, things that you just kind of feel like you're paralyzed with your hands tied behind your back. And it can be easy to feel like I have no control here. There's nothing I can do about the situation. And I know all of us are feeling a little bit that way right now. Like there's big things we wish we could do. We kind of feel totally out of control, and that's where a lot of the anxiety comes from. But don't ever feel like you don't have any control. What you do have control over is your attitude. You have control over your outlook. You have control over the little things that you can do. Just like this little stupid thing we did with a purple marker brought so much light to others. That's what you have. You have the opportunity to be a helper. You have the opportunity to shine your light, to be kind to someone in a moment that's having a really hard time. And it turns out that those are the things that actually have the biggest impact of all. And so after this happened, it's funny to see the ripple effects that come from this. I wrote a book a few years ago called Penguins Can't Fly, and it was about the rules that don't exist that we often follow in our lives. And we went on a book tour, and we created stations for people, for parents to draw on their kids. So sort of these interactive.
We weren't sure if people would do it, to be honest. We're
No,
like, we'll see how this works.
Didn't know how it would go, but they went all in. We had so many people drawing on their kids, doing mustaches and unibrows and all that stuff. And so here we go. This one little stupid thing we did during a moment of darkness in our family where we were just kind of like grumpy and filled with adultitis has rippled. And it continued to bring light and joy along the way. And that's the chance we have right now, is to take advantage to shine the light that we have to one another. So speaking of what we can do,
yes,
and having fun, right?
We've kind of put our heads together and kind of have a little list of things quickly to kind of share with you, some tools for your tool belt. Boy, the tools are different than they were in the classroom, I can imagine. Even right now, being at home and trying to figure out how to find that peace and joy that we're all seeking right now. So we have some ideas for you, and we're just going to kind of spitfire them off to you, and hopefully we will, kind of get some things that you can try out today. Okay. One of our favorite ones is really quick and easy. If you are able to go out on a drive, social distancing being what it is, you can still drive your car. Take a plastic cup and some masking tape and stick it on the top of your car. This is called sticky cup. You're going to want to just place it right on top of your car and go for a drive. Now, this seems very simple, but what it is going to do is what?
Create a national emergency. Another one, because people will be completely forgetting about the coronavirus and be like, oh my gosh, they have In-N-Out Burger on their car. Oh my gosh, I gotta tell them. And they were just gonna go to the store to buy some toilet paper, normal
Try
thing.
to.
And
right.
Now they're following you up the coast for miles and miles and miles to tell you that you have In-N-Out Burger on your car.
This is as simple as it
hilarious.
gets, you guys. Okay. Next one is called silly soap opera. So you're gonna turn on the TV, go to some sort of dramatic show, and you're gonna push mute. And everyone in your household, or you could do this by Skype with friends, is going to take the role of one of the characters, and you're just going to fill in their words, basically like Mad Libs or, what's the other thing that's like that, where you're basically like just creating a whole new story, a whole new world with whatever's happening. And the spontaneity of the scene changing and the different characters that come in will get you laughing.
Yeah,
and laughing.
It's fun to do with news programs where what's going on. Home shopping channels can be good.
Right.
One time we did it with the soap opera network, and a little warning. We were doing it with Kim's family. I inadvertently stumbled my way into a love scene with my mother-in-law.
You can't undo
certain
that.
things you just can't undo. So be careful with what you choose. But it's definitely
G rating.
Silly soap opera is a lot of fun.
All right, our next one is called G'day Mate, and this is you basically have an accent dinner. So those in your household, or if you're having a video dinner kind of thing with your friends on your phone, is everyone picks a different accent and then you speak in that accent for the whole meal. And I don't know if your accents, fake accents, are as, terrible as mine, but again, more laughter will happen because I constantly shift from everything I'm trying to do, English or Australian, into pirate. So that's kind of my go-to, default accent apparently.
But that's okay. You could do pirate. You could
Right.
do robot accent.
Right.
You could pretend you're all professional wrestlers cutting a program, like, pass the peas, brother. Just have fun with it. But everyone has to stay in character.
Yes. And, speaking of dinners, just the simple act of having dessert first. Especially if you have, younger people in your house, you're going to blow their minds. Is like you have dinner already, but then you pull out like the ice cream and everybody has ice cream before their dinner. And just because nobody's birthday, nothing special, just because. Mm-hmm. And that's just the easiest one you can have. Okay. Another fun one for a dinner or a lunch is to have everybody go to their closets and basically come up with some kind of random fun costumes and clothing, and basically have what we call the closet raid banquet. And again, you could do all this through Skype or video FaceTime with whoever it is you're connecting with, virtually as well. But there's just something fun about coming to the table and seeing what everybody's wearing that night.
Yeah, and if you could also just adapt this to a Zoom call, like we're on right now, like if you have one with your team or family or whatever, and come with an eye patch or a weird wig or draw a purple mustache and see how long it takes for anyone to recognize anything's different. Just act like it's completely normal.
This is just simple stuff, right? Yeah. Something else that we've been doing is using rock, paper, scissors for simple decisions. Who's going to clear the table tonight? Rock, paper, scissors it. Even with your coworkers virtually, when you're talking about, okay, we're going to do this. All right, I don't know who should do it. Let's do rock, paper, scissors. So
who gets the last sheet of toilet paper with rock, paper, scissors?
I will cheat on rock, paper, scissors to win that. And then we did literally last night, the idea of a kitchen dance party. Put some music on your phone or whatever, blare it up during dishes. Jason actually made this piece of art for me for my 40th birthday. And it's one of those things that we have in our kitchen. It reminds us to turn the music on, and whether you're a dancer or not, you can't help but move your body in the kitchen when you're trying to do chores when the music's playing.
And you feel good about it. So yes. This is just from just last night. Our kids busting some moves here.
Macklemore.
And it was classic, right?
And then this last one is definitely something to immediately for your next meal. Basically have everyone pick a big utensil from the drawer, the ones that, clog the drawer when you're trying to open them. All these kind of choices that you have in front of you. And then everyone in your household has to eat their entire meal with that utensil. This is called Spatula City. It's the cheapest fun you can have outside of Sticky Cup. And we did this last week, and the kids didn't know that we were going to do it. So it's even more fun when they don't know with the menu of what they're going to pick. I will say that the ice cream scooper was a little dangerous. So be careful with what you pick, but yes. It is fun no matter what.
Yep, totally. So we just wanted to share tons of ideas. We have more, but we wanted to take a break. If there is any questions, I don't know, Fernando, if you have any questions for us, the chat has gone fast and furious. Anything, questions that anyone has, go ahead and leave them in the Q&A section or with Fernando. I do see Jessica Hugh asks.
Do I not answer live?
Oops, yeah, let's do this.
Okay.
Okay. Jessica Hughes said that are the Be Optimistic pins available to purchase online? Are they available as stickers too? Good question. Yes, we do have the Be Optimistic pins available on our website at escapeadulthood.com. We have t-shirts and we have all kinds of things with that on.
Hats.
I don't think we have stickers yet though.
No,
we might need to get on the
really
stickers. We have magnets and pins and different things like that. Yeah. So thank you for asking that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if anyone else has any other questions, feel free to throw them out there. I know thank you, Fernando, for sharing the link. Someone asked what the store was. And we are doing a daily show. So we'll mention that again at the end, but we're sharing lots of these same ideas. We did a show last week with lots of fun ideas, and we actually have a really cool guest today called The Bubble Man, who's going to be joining us. So
yeah,
you have to check that out.
It's going to be quite a blast, I think. So
Yeah.
I'm seeing in the chat, lots of people are really, thank you. I'm glad this has been useful. This has been cool. I really appreciate you guys. The feedback seems to be really good. I don't see any other questions. Looks like there might have been some other questions for the technology kind of things, but we will keep going. I will keep an eye on this as best as I can.
Is there an address for the show? Yes. So if you go to escapeadulthood.com/coffee, just the word coffee, basically we're having coffee every afternoon at 3 p.m. Central Time. But you can watch the replays at that same link any day. So we're doing it Monday through Friday, as long as we are in this situation. So we're having fun with it, aren't we?
Yes. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But if you go to escapeadulthood.com, you'll see a little button at the top that talks about the coronavirus and tools to help and things like that. And if you go to that button, you'll see all the different things that we have going on right now with that. Where do you start with finding that thing to help you get through this? I'm not sure what that means exactly, that thing.
Maybe that idea,
maybe.
Yeah, that spark.
I mean, just, think about this. This is an important thing to keep in mind is the spark, the idea. Okay, Barbara, I got it. It can really be small. So I think the fact that you're here right now, hopefully there's a little idea that you can build on. I think the important thing is not to get overwhelmed with knowing all of the next steps. Think about what's one next step. So it might be, connecting with a trusted friend. It might be being on this Zoom call right now. It might be watching a comedy that makes you laugh. It might be thinking of one thing you can do to help a neighbor or a friend or someone you haven't talked to in a while. And I think sometimes we get so overwhelmed with all of it that we think we have to have this whole big grand plan, and we don't. We have to be patient. We all suck at this right now. This is our first pandemic that we're all dealing with. So just think of what's the small baby next step that you can take, and then more next steps will come. But I think this whole process over the next however long we're going to be in this is baby steps. And there might be a few steps back along the way, and that's okay. But think about little baby steps. And if you just keep taking baby steps, you'll get through it. I mean, I remember 2 weeks ago when we started to get locked down here in Wisconsin, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to make it to the end of March. And March was the longest year we've ever had, isn't it? But we did, and now we're in April. Now I think, oh my gosh, I'm never going to make it to the end of April. But and it really reminds me of when our daughter was born, our first.
Oh.
And any new parents, the first few weeks, you're just like, oh my gosh, your life turns upside down, and you're like, I'm never going to sleep again, and this is all I can't do this. And I remember thinking our midwife said, oh, don't worry, it'll get better in a month. And that could have just been like, ugh. I'm never going to make it in a month. A month is forever. And yet here we are. Our daughter is 11 years old, and we made it. So just focus on the baby steps, Barbara. I think that's the best advice I can give you. Let's see. Marjorie Jennings says, I found that I have to limit my news time. Everything is so negative, I get overwhelmed. Yes, I can't even agree more on that. We do need to be informed, but it's pretty amazing how easy it is to be informed without scrolling Facebook or social media or watching the news, because the news really, it has shifted over the last generations, where now they really care about getting eyeballs and clicks. And the best way for them to do that is to be very sensational and to drive fear and to drive anger. And that keeps people tuned in. It is not healthy at all. And it's not really serving us at all either. So the more you can distance yourself from that, take a walk, do something fun, connect with positive things, that's going to be a huge thing.
Yeah, I like what Cassie said there, to check the World Health Organization, or CDC, for the facts, right? Yep. And that's part of the reason we started doing a 3 p.m. show every day, is to give people something good to focus on, something, a placeholder in their day that isn't just all the news coming at you all the time.
Yep. Vicky says, my husband and I have taken to baking. It really passes the time and has a great reward afterwards. Treats. Yes.
Yay,
I love
treats.
That. Yes. It's amazing what little things we can do like that. We busted out some banana bread the other day, same thing. Kids got involved in it. Yeah. It was awesome.
That's awesome.
So, all right. Well, we want to respect your time. We've got a few last words to share with you. Just wanted to share kind of just like one last thing to keep in mind as we go through this time. And it's one of the unique things that we have, is we're all going through it together, which is very unusual. But I wanted to pull out these little paintings. And if you look at these paintings, they look like goats, right? They're mountain goats. And they look like they're probably in a mountain somewhere, probably cold, probably desolate, probably bleak. The thing is, right now, that's where we are, right? We're in a spot where we don't know exactly where we are, but when we look around us in our immediate vicinity, we see a bleak outcome. It just feels bad sometimes, right? Doesn't mean it's true, because if you look at the bigger picture of what this entire painting, you see that there's some magic here, there's some whimsy here, and it's not at all what we thought. And so I wanted to leave a story here to encourage you. A number of years ago, I was meeting with some speaker friends, and we were having lunch. And the question got brought up, of all of the places that you've been, where would you most like to return? And it was interesting because other people were saying all these exotic locations, like Brazil and Ireland and Australia. And I was sort of panicking because all I could think of was the Quality Inn at Clearwater Beach. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not nearly as exciting to share. But then it came to me, like, what about you, Jason? Where would you most like to return? And I said, the Quality Inn at Clearwater Beach. And everyone turned and said, really? What? There's got to be a story here. And there was. So this was, Kim and I were married, but we didn't have any kids. This was before kids. And this is when we were only a year or two into my speaking career. And we had the opportunity to travel together to speaking engagements, and we had one in Clearwater Beach area. So we were checking into our hotel, and the guy at the front desk offered the opportunity to upgrade to the better room. He said, I have an ocean view room available. And we're like, oh, well, how much does the ocean view room cost? He said, $20. And we're like, okay. And we had to talk about that because we didn't budget for, this is early days. We're checking into the Quality Inn. Like, we didn't budget for this. And we said, well, what room are we in now? And he said, well, you're in the garden view room. Anyone who does any traveling might know the garden view room is sort of like code for air conditioning unit view, right? So we powwowed, we talked about it a little bit, and we said, all right, well, we could probably skip a lunch. We could probably find some money somewhere else. And we said, well, go for it. We'll take your ocean view room. So this was probably the best $20 I ever spent. And we were in this room, and we were overlooking the Gulf of Mexico, and it was sunset. And it's the period of time, the hour before sunset is what photographers call golden hour, magic hour, because the light is just beautiful. And as I'm sitting with these speakers talking about this moment, this was the picture that came in my head. Kim and I on the bed overlooking this beautiful sunset as the sun is dipping into the Gulf of Mexico. And I took a selfie. Now this was before
you could see the shadow of
it's
the
just
phone.
like a regular digital
not the phone,
camera.
It's a camera. Yeah.
Yeah. And I took this picture and I remembered it. And I went back in time to this moment, and I think about how at the moment, I'm not sure that I appreciated it as much as I could have, because I spent so much time worrying and being anxious about, would we make this business work? Would we ever make enough money to get out of our apartment and buy a home? Would we ever have enough money to start a family? And I found myself often wishing I was somewhere else, somewhere in the future where it was better. And I think now, like how awesome it was to go out to eat, to go out to eat and not have to cut up someone else's food for them, the adventures that Kim and I were able to have together. And there were just a lot of great blessings at that time that I didn't appreciate at the time. And I think that's something that we all need to be reminded about, even as we're right here in this bleak time, that sometimes we get so caught up chasing the next moment, we forget to savor the one we're in. Now, that's one of the things that we can do to get through this, is to think about all of the exciting things that we miss. The opportunity to go to a baseball game, the opportunity to go to a concert and sing our favorite song with thousands of other people, the ability to hug someone. These are things that will get us through this process. But in the meantime, don't get so caught up in that you forget what you have right now. There are people in your life right now that might not be here a year from now. There are opportunities that you have right now with the people you love, being in lockdown, being in quarantine, to make baking things with your husband, right? That are not going to be here when this gets back to normal. And they won't be here when we get back to our busy lives and things kind of to scale back. So don't get so caught up in what's next without realizing the possibility that we have before us right now. Yes, it's a bleak time at times, right? We look around and we see bad news, but don't forget the magic of looking at the big picture. Don't forget the opportunity that we have to enjoy the climb that we're in amidst right now. And so before we end this call, we want to give you guys an opportunity for something free. You guys, if you remember Cracker Jacks, the best part of Cracker Jacks is
the prize,
the free prize, right?
Although someone in your audience once said peanuts.
That's what adultitis looks like, folks, is when you answer peanuts to that question, right? But we mentioned it before. If you go to escapeadulthood.com, and you'll see on the homepage, there is a little sunshine banner that talks about coronavirus. If you click on that, you'll get to a page where we have all kinds of amazing things, many of which are free, including my book, A Chance of Awesome, which just came out last summer. Seems to have been written for a time such as this. It's basically a lot of the stories we told you here today are in that book. And we're giving away a free download, totally free, while we're in the middle of this crisis. So if you go to that website, click on that link, you'll find a way to download it. We also have super discounted for people that want to buy the hardcover version for team members, clients, friends, things like that. Other free things. We have the Chief Family Fund.
Yes, we years ago put together a 52 video series of 52 ideas of fun, cheap, like easy things to do with your family. And we have a kind of a 14, what are we calling it? The cheap, special edition of yes. 14 free videos for you. So you'll see a link to that. And this is just stuff you could share with the families you work with your own family, with relatives, but a lot of stuff like the Spatulicity and things like that.
Yeah. So another free thing that we have is what we call the Escape Adulthood League. And that is a free community of other adultitis fighters from around the world that is a chance to gather and connect and share ideas and share experiences. And it's free from the distraction and the poison that you might see on Facebook when you get all of the people talking politics. We don't talk about politics. We don't talk about any of the negative stuff. We talk about real stuff, but the division isn't there. And so we invite you to be a part of that. And by being a part of that, you'll be able to see opportunities for the Cheap Family Fund Special Edition and things like that. What else? We talked about the coffee with Kim and Jason.
Yes, every day at 3 p.m. Central Time. If you go to escapeadulthood.com/coffee, you'll see the links to, you can sign up to get notified when the show goes live every day. But we're just doing some really cool things, some really great guests, and some really relevant topics right now. It's a half-hour show, so it's just bite-sized and hoping to just bring some inspiration and fun to your day today.
Yeah, and probably, I guess the last thing to share is my beautiful wife is leading a new course on April 13th it's starting, and it's called Wonder Hunt. And again, if you go to that escapeadulthood.com, click on the banner, you'll find you'll find about this. But if you are feeling like you're just kind of living in darkness right now, if you feel like you need to see some joy and some good things, you want to sign up for this. You want to tell them a little bit about what people can expect?
Yes, it is a kind of a photo prompt challenge every day for 4 weeks, all Monday through Friday. It comes with a little photo prompt and some inspiration from me to kind of help you find wonder again. It kind of got started when, after I was busy being a mom for so many years, I kind of lost my opportunity to see wonder in the moment. I was just kind of living distracted and kind of stuck in a rut. So I created this opportunity for others to kind of walk with me on this journey to regain inspired living, regain that joy and peace that we all seek, and we need it now more than ever. So I'm so excited to do this again starting April 13th, the day after Easter. But definitely check it out. Let me know if you have any questions.
Yes. So that's about all the time we have for you guys. I wanted to again thank you for everything, for being here. I hope it was useful to you. I'd like to end on a little thought, and someone actually shared this earlier, this quote from Mr. Rogers. And when he said, when I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do right now, is to be helpers. Like I said, we're inspired by you because you're helping all of the time. All of the things that you're doing right now, not only in your programs and trying to do things long distance, and there's going to be a time where, things open back up again and you're going to be right back in it, and there are going to be new challenges to solve. And I just want to encourage you to keep it up, because those little things, they may not seem very significant in the grand scheme of things. They really are. And the ability to be optimistic and to enjoy the climb that we're in, and to ask that question, now that we're here, now that this has happened, what does this make possible? I hope you will take that to heart. And I hope this has been useful. And we just want to thank you guys for being with us. And hopefully our paths will cross again soon.
Well, thank you to both Kim and Jason for the wonderful presentation. And also thank everybody for attending this session as well. I would like to remind you all that this session was recorded and will be made available for on-demand consumption within 24 hours. You may find the recording up on our YouTube channel, which can be found by visiting our website at www.region9hsa.org. Then you will scroll all the way to the bottom of our homepage, and there you will find a link to our YouTube account. Resources tied to this session, such as the certificate of participation, can be found on our website as well. To access the page tied to this session, please navigate to the Learn tab and click on the COVID-19 page. There you will find a link to this session, plus any other previous webinars we have hosted in the last few weeks, as well as a few upcoming ones in the next couple of days that you can register for. So once again, I want to thank both Kim and Jason for their time. And thanks everybody. I hope that you have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thanks again, everybody.